Welcome to Oink Time Podcast. I'm Jen Carnivale.
I'm Ben Elwood.
Our shows are coming up for Sydney Fringe Comedy. Go and buy all the tickets September 4th until September 9th. We have some amazing guests.
Oh, including. We've lined up some people.
Yeah, we
The great
do.
Nick Sun.
We have Nick Sun if he shows up. No, we have Nick Sun. Nick's going to do one of the first shows. Grab tickets. They're going to be stellar lineups. This, of course, is our podcast where we get a new guest each week. We pick one topic and rip it to shreds.
Like stinky little oinkers. Please give it 5 stars. Take out the time to give it 5 stars on iTunes. That helps us out a lot.
Rate it, share it. Share it with other little piggies. Ben's got a show coming up at the Fringe as well.
Yes, it is called The Unexpected Benefits of a Colorectal Prolapse, and it is on September 18, 20 and 22 at the Factory Theatre at 8:15. Please come.
See Ben's show. You can, of course, contact us on Twitter at OinkTimePod. Let us know if you have any suggestions for the hat. This all is possible because of our wonderful producer, Sean Allen. Check out Sean's podcast, In Brackets with Sean Allen. Sean makes this all happen. All the links, all the funniness.
And the theme songs.
The theme songs and us essentially getting here, if we're being honest.
Thanks, Sean.
And now we have our wonderful episode with Rosie Rivette.
Woohoo! Hi. Woo!
Yes, son.
What does regret mean?
I have asked all for their forgiveness.
I've had a few.
It makes me mildly nauseous to think that we might have had some impact on the election.
This is the most humble day of my life.
Try to be a good person.
I immediately regret this decision.
If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it.
The decision to go to war in Iraq was the hardest in my 10 years as British Prime Minister. For all of this, I express more regret than you may ever know or can believe.
But as Miss Piggy grew and developed, she became the interest of the suitors, so that created tension between her and her mother. So Miss Piggy had to leave home. Then Miss Piggy goes out into the big smoke, and in order to get by, she had to do a few works that she wasn't proud of, like baking commercials and shit. Yeah, and then she went to what's it called? The school you go to be a lady.
Oh, yeah, like finishing school.
Finishing school. She went to finishing school because she couldn't find herself a man because men didn't like strong women, and she's a pretty, she's a strong.
Okay.
She's a tough guy. She's a tough, strong woman.
Oh, thanks, Sean.
You know?
I'm gonna pee quickly.
She's very,
Yeah.
But she went to finishing school so that she could learn to be a lady, so that men would potentially like her. And it's so interesting. That's why she has that really meat Demeter. Yeah.
I went on a date a year and a half ago. On a few dates with this very militant vegan feminist.
Yeah.
Very humorless.
Yeah.
And and it was the first time in ages I was amending my personality, really pulling my punches. I better not be offensive.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's so fucking exhausting. And then she came to my place one night, and I've got this screensaver of images that I've collected over many, many years.
Yeah.
And there's this sculpture series that this guy did of Miss Piggy as a dominatrix, mouth fucking Kermit and using Gonzo. I'll send you the link. It's they're unbelievable, and apart from anything, they're just beautiful sculptures.
Yeah.
And this image flashes up, and she was confronted or upset by this, and then she starts talking about how Miss Piggy was her childhood hero, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, how awesome is Frank Oz?
Yeah.
And she goes, who's Frank Oz?
Oh God.
And I'm like, co-creator of Sesame Street.
Yeah.
One of the greatest humans that's ever lived ever.
Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, but what's that got to do with Miss Piggy? And I was like, well, Frank Oz was Miss Piggy. He puppeteered her and he was the voice.
Created her, yeah.
And all the colour drops out of her face. She goes, are you telling me that my childhood hero was a man? And starts railing at me that I ruined her fucking childhood because it was unbelievable.
Ejector
right?
seat.
But just but it's it's just like, I mean, really? Like, you're that fucking... It's like me finding out that Bart Simpson's done by a woman and be like, oh, that's an outrage. A woman did Bart
That's
Simpson's
a level
voice.
of feminism I want nothing to do with. Like,
Well, it's deranged.
It's just deranged. It's fucked. It's not right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's that weird thing where it's like, I mean, what your childhood memories have now retroactively been destroyed by, you know, and it's
a
not
cartoon.
and it's not just any man. It's like a great man. Frank Oz is he invented Sesame Street.
I feel like I have no memory of Sesame Street.
Really?
There's a really great podcast on Frank Oz, actually, I should send to you.
What is that?
I don't know if it's in Conversations with Richard Feidler or whether it's I'll find it. It's great. I think it is Conversations with Richard Feidler, which is a fucking great podcast in itself. I'm pretty sure, is it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's just really, really lovely, and it is about like the secret backstory of Miss Piggy. It's really cute.
Well, apparently he wrote back. Yeah, apparently he was a big thing on like backstory for all of them.
Major, totally.
And never actually like reveal it on screen, but it's implied.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. He was just like, it doesn't matter to the audience. It doesn't change the character. But for me, I couldn't make these characters without those stories.
Yeah,
and I think that's beautiful. Like, he's so invested in, and the stories are amazing. Like the Miss Piggy one is just like, fuck.
Well, it probably just offers a lot more depth to the character.
It does. And
which
I
makes
think
them
it gives
more lovable.
reasons for why they behave the way they do, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I think everyone forgets like the initial like Henson stuff was for like kids that were down and out. Like Sesame Street was like a slum street in the first few seasons.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
it totally was.
I have zero memory of any of this.
It is. It's fucking dank as shit.
Yeah, but by the time we were watching it, it had been cleaned up a bit. And now it's like all done on like blue screen and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird,
but then it was in
it was in
Harlem or some shit, wasn't it? I think it actually was.
Yeah. And they're all sitting on stoops. I mean, Oscar the Grouch, he's a fucking homeless fucking
God,
pot of marijuana.
I know.
Oh man,
it's true. He would just stink of weed, wouldn't he?
Do you have like childhood stuff that you hold on to now?
From Sesame, or just in general?
Just in general, like stuff that affected you as a kid that kind of.
Is that a fucking cookie?
Yeah. Do you want some?
God, yes.
Yeah, sweet.
Oh my God, you're incredible.
Do it.
Thank you. Oh, Ben,
we'll bleep that part out.
I think I just said cookie. I was alluding to that beautiful chocolate chip cookie
monster.
Benny's a baker.
Birthdays,
bar mitzvahs.
Ayahuasca in
Did
Cambo
you?
with Nick's son.
Oh, really?
Where?
Just me and Nick.
I want to know about this.
Yeah.
Where were you guys?
Yeah, we did Cambo in the Blue Mountains. I did Cambo 1 week with him, and then the following week I went up and did Ayahuasca.
With Nikki again.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, because Sam had done it, and I was just like, oh my God, you have let go of all your demons. This is amazing. And also Ayahuasca with Nick Son as my shaman. Please. Oh my fucking God.
I know Nikki way too well for him to be my shaman without there being a hell of a lot of baggage attached to it, I think.
Yeah, no.
I think we would kind of exacerbate each other's.
Can you imagine?
energy for
Let go, Ben. Fuck it, you let go.
Yeah,
start attacking each other.
Yeah.
Be horrible.
It is interesting. Yeah. It was really like, yeah.
What was the motivation for wanting to do ayahuasca?
Just needing to let go of shit and bad and just reset myself. I didn't have any ego death or dissolution. I had to drink a lot of it. I had a lot of resistance. So I've got to do it again. I purged and I on another planet. I was an octopus at one point and it was like, but I don't think it was as intense as it potentially could have been, which was nice actually. It was like a really good introduction to ayahuasca. I've definitely felt the fucking effects of it, but I didn't go,
Were you afraid?
I wasn't. No, I wasn't. That was the beautiful part. I actually wasn't afraid. I wasn't in my body. I was acknowledging that these bodies are fucking silly and ridiculous, and everything was just a fucking playground and just incredible. And it reminded me that I'm doing the right thing. I felt like a jester. I just felt like this playful, crazy. I just felt very affirmed in the work that I was doing and
that's
in the person
wonderful.
I am, and it was nice. And to be honest, I don't think I experienced ego death because I already fucking had ego death earlier in the year when I did a burlesque competition.
What is that?
Ego death?
No, I know what ego death is, but what's a burlesque?
Burlesque.
Oh, sorry, I said blessed competition.
Oh, yeah.
A blessed competition.
Whoa, have you gone full fucking Pentecostal? What the fuck?
The whole other side of Rosie.
I know.
But
I'm lucky I'm here.
Well, I've got two questions. First of all, what caused ego death during the burlesque competition?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't place. I didn't even place at all. I thought, I was like, I might even win. I felt really positive about it.
During
I worked really hard. The night was just amazing. I got the best response I'd ever received ever. Like, people fucking like...
Yeah, they're with you.
After I left, they were with me. But my style of performing obviously didn't... And my performances that I chose just didn't align with the criteria. But it was just this horrible situation where you do this amazing performance and you remember it's a competition.
Yeah.
There's only 6 of you as well. Yeah. And you think, I don't want them to call out a winner because in this moment, everything that matters suddenly won't.
Yeah.
And it's in the hands of 6 people whose opinions I do and I don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And damn it, I wish this wasn't a competition. I want to call it off right now. And but then at the other side of it, I'm like, I could win. This is amazing. And I'd come out of heartbreak and it was an unhealthy distribution of all these other feelings that I'd already carried. And I kind of put all my self-worth and values into this thing, which wasn't a sound choice.
It never is.
But there's that moment where they voted, or the judges have made their decision. We're all standing on the side of stage holding each other's hands. And they call out third place and you're like, okay, fuck, there goes third place.
Yeah.
All right. And then they call out second place and you're like, fuck, like I'm still here.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God, this is real. This is it. And then they called out first and the girl who like won, her hand lets go of mine and I'm suddenly like, I'm still fucking here.
And you've got a plaster on the fake.
And I've just yeah, totally. And I've just like, I just felt like the floor collapsed and I was just this thing floating up. And it was totally this ego dissolution where I'm like, fuck. Yeah. And I remember just walking backstage, I just remember that moment. I just went backstage and I was just pacing back and forth. I didn't know what to do with myself. I felt so trapped. And I was just like, I didn't prepare myself. And then I had to go up on stage and I remember saying to my friend, like, I can't. And she was like, get out, like, leave. I was like, I have to. Like, I can't be around anyone. And
did you
I
leave?
Just went out the back. I had a breakdown backstage, which was not like a diva breakdown. I just fucking broke down. And then, I just got a cab out the back and left.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I just didn't, I was prepared to not win. I just didn't think I wouldn't place. And a lot of people thought, it wasn't right, which was nice, but at the same time, it wasn't. It just, I just wasn't.
My
performance
fit.
just wasn't right. It just wasn't totally. It just didn't tick their boxes, and that's just how it is, isn't it? Like in the end, I came to peace with it. But for 3 days, I couldn't leave my fucking bedroom. Like, I didn't. It took me by surprise. I had no idea I would feel that. That. And they were 2 really valuable performances of mine as well. So I think I put a lot of. Yeah.
A lot of yourself into it.
Yeah.
I think everyone experiences those moments either on a minor scale or a major scale at different times. Like
totally.
I mean, with comedy, I feel like it's really immediate because if you do a gig and people don't like you, you feel it. So I don't know if it's ever felt as big for me, but I've definitely... had so many of those moments where it's like...
you need to have them.
Well, you need to have an ego in the beginning to perform. Like people who are like, I gig, but I have no ego. It's like,
bullshit.
Then why are you doing something like that?
And that's the most humbling experience. That's the most humbling experience is we do all have ego and it's not an ugly thing. No. You kind of need it.
You just have to tap into it and check it a little bit. And like when I've done really crappy gigs where there's like 5 people and the comic's like, oh, what's the point? I'm like, well, just go chat to them. Yeah. I had a weird gig the other night and I was like, I'll just talk to people. And I ended up having a great time because your ego's removed and you're like,
definitely.
You don't have any of that, oh, why am I doing this? Or why am I doing that? Or this isn't worth this or this. Instead, you're just like, I'll just be here with these people and see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I like about clowning. It's what I'm trying to do more of as well. And that's what I find works best with me in my work is that, totally just letting go of any like preconceived idea of what already is funny and what is good and just being open to just giving in that moment and working with, and also just not doing competitions. I think that was just dumb.
Well, you got to engage.
How do you know until you do it?
Well, that's it. And I pushed myself and that was the thing. You got to take, exactly. You've got to take the plus sides out of it. I know now.
There's this one of my, it's like one of my Bibles. It's fucking an amazing book. Everyone should read it. It's called Finite and Infinite Games.
Finite and Infinite.
It's an unbelievable book.
Shit.
It's very thin, but it's very dense, and you've got to read paragraphs over and over and over again.
Sure.
But his thesis is that there's 2 kinds of games in life: finite games and infinite games. And a finite game is a game that you enter to win.
Finite by infinite?
Finite and infinite games.
Yeah.
So you go into these games with the object of winning. So say getting up at a gig. You know, I've got to be the one that smashes tonight. I'm going to conquer the audience and I'm going to be on the, or in your burlesque contest.
Yeah.
And then an infinite game is played just for the sake of playing. So it's very much the way a child engages with an activity.
So without ego.
Without an expectation of outcome.
And there's an amazing passage in it that I always think of before I go on stage where it's like for a finite player to have the requisite kind of drive to win, they have to see themselves as a loser because you have to prove to the audience that you're not what they think you are, which is a loser.
Yeah.
And so you have to go out and so you've and through winning, you've kind of proved that the audience was right. By proving they were wrong, you've proved they were right.
Hang on.
It's like really fucking weird logic. It's basically like unless you see yourself as lesser and not as an equal to the audience, you don't have the drive to go out and prove that you're the best.
Yeah. You want to overcompensate.
You need to have the feeling. Yeah.
So when they dub you the best, by proving them wrong, you've proved to yourself that they were right, that you are a loser.
Yeah.
And it's this weird kind of like mental game that
Totally.
you're playing
Oh
with
my
yourself.
God.
Yeah, it's a fucking amazing book. It's
making
amazing.
me feel dizzy.
No, but it's honestly this book. I read this book before gigs so much.
Yeah, right.
Like there was one the other day. I was on with a couple of people who have credits to their name, and something in my head. It's so stupid, but when I'm around people with credits, I start kind of feeling very like inadequate.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, it's really fucked. And there's this whole chapter in this about like. You address people by their names, not their titles.
Yes.
A name isn't a non-changing thing, but a title is a never-changing thing.
And also, the longer you're in any arts-based industry, I think you realise the titles mean nothing.
Well, yeah, of course. And it's often the people with the titles.
There's so much politics and so much luck.
It's almost
and so
a curse as well because you carry that title and therefore this, expectation comes with already, it's kind of what you're not seen as a loser from the audience. You're seen as a winner, and that's almost worse, isn't it? Because there's no room for error there. There's
Absolutely.
there's an expectation attached to it. And I think
want that bar so low before I walk up on stage.
Totally.
Here's this girl. She can talk, we think. Welcome her.
She's got all her limbs. Excellent.
Back to that ayahuasca thing. Were you aware when you went into it of the issue that you wanted to confront?
So you kind of set your intention beforehand and you have a ceremony and Nick will kind of talk to the ayahuasca spirit about...
I'm only laughing because I know Nicky and it's just I can't imagine him guiding.
But he does. He talks to plants all the time.
Yeah.
And he does.
Oh, we know. I've had many conversations with trees with Nick.
Oh God, yeah, totally. But that intention is set at the beginning. But you do, when I did Canberra, it was the same thing. Like, please rid me of anything negative. But I'm fucking puking my guts out and I'm trying to hold my hands above my head and I want to take all my clothes off and I'm worried I'm about to shit myself and there's just not much room. There's not much room to think about your intention in that moment because you're just like... when will this stop? And he's like, drink more water and I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's just fucking... But it's the same with the ayahuasca. It's just like, you do want to come back to your intention, but you're also just like... Because it took me a long time... It took a long time for it to hit me. I was going through this thing of like, what did I do to fuck this up? Like I adhered to the diet. I even held off from sex. Fuck, is it because I accidentally ate that THC oil thinking that it was CBD oil the other day? Is it because, fuck, is it because I ate that yogurt? It's like, I'm like, you start blaming yourself. And I was saying to Nick, I was like, I think I've jeopardized this and I fucked this up. And he'll keep reminding me to come back to why I'm doing that. At one point I was so focused on him I remember saying to him at one point, I feel like you're really tired and uncomfortable right now because he didn't take ayahuasca this time. It's the first time he didn't. And I still hold true to thinking that he did. I swear.
That he did take it.
That he did feel tired and like exhausted.
It's exhausting
and uncomfortable.
being around someone that's tripping
totally.
If you're not.
Yeah, and it was getting late, but he was just like, no, I'm fine. Like, I think you need to think about why you feel that way. And also the fact that because I'm such a fucking empath, I can't let go of how other people are feeling. Like my feelings are very heavily dictated by other people's shit. And it was just this big thing about recognizing what's my shit and what's not my shit and letting go of that.
Which is so hard.
It's so hard.
It's so funny with that empath thing because I've done that my whole life as well where it's like, I'm an empath and when someone's sad, I start feeling sad and it's like, I don't know, maybe that's half true and maybe you're doing a lot of projecting.
Yeah,
and you
that's
feel
true,
sad.
and that's what he was alluding to.
And
it's me feeling very self-conscious about.
Yeah.
But I do feel very hypersensitive to people's.
Yeah.
I do feel it. I definitely do. But I totally agree. But then there's feeling it, and then there's letting that affect
Correct.
you. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing. And I was very fixated on that. But then this fucking weird thing happened where there was a dog in the room. This dog was beautiful but very restless, and Nick sent the dog out. And then this dog just fucking pissed on the top of the stairs and then bolted down the stairs and put a hole through the wall. And I'm lying, and Nick's like, fuck, and has to turn the light on. And I'm lying in this single bed, like waiting for my high to come on, being like, and then the dog ran away. And then he's out looking for this dog, and I'm lying there, and I'm like, oh, fuck. But yeah, the dog put its head through the wall, and I'm lying there thinking like, fuck me, like, is this what's going to happen if this dog gets lost or something bad happened to the dog? And then suddenly I'm on ayahuasca. Poor Nick.
Terrible.
What is he going to do with this dog? Yeah, and I just started kind of
freaking out
a little bit, but then everything was okay in the end. And then eventually, he was playing this organ setting on a keyboard, and that's what brought my purge on. Well, like, I remember it all started, like, everything hit me when I felt this pain in my lower left side. And every time I tried to say lower left side, I retched. Like, I couldn't actually say lower left side.
Yeah, right.
I was like, my lower left. And then I just lay on this angle, and then I just, like, purged. And it was amazing, though, because it is this release. Like, I hate vomit. I'm a total phobic of vomit. I think it's the worst thing in the world. So for me to put myself in situations that really are about
vomit
purging, it was different, though. And it was, everything fucking came to life at that point. Like, everything. It was just, every time I closed my eyes and Nick played music, like, the entire world turned into a theme park. And going outside to see the stars was just, like, the most, like, earth-shattering, phenomenal thing ever. And it was just me just being very much in.
Can you put into words what, like, the revelation or what the...
I didn't have one. I think I put a lot of expectation on my experience, and I put a lot, and a lot of people, and I think it wasn't as intense as I anticipated.
Yeah.
It was really nice, but it was just really friendly and fun, and I would like to do it again, and I intend to.
It's so hard going into those things where, like, you know, you talk of ego death. It's so, like, the first experience I've had with anything, there is very much that watcher, you know, and it's comparing, like, oh, is this like the book that I read about this experience?
Through your head.
Or...
You only hear the most extreme as well.
Yeah. But the true ego death is where all that internal monologue is just fucking gone, and it's the complete disillusion of like, it goes beyond just like, I don't know where I am or who I am. It's like, I don't know what I am. I'm just fucking abstract now.
And it exists before and after. You know, once you make that commitment, like, adhering to that diet was fucking hard.
What diet do you have to adhere to?
No coffee, no weed. Weed is like a massive, like, no. Those plants do not get along well.
How long before?
Weed for as long as you can. I only held off from weed like a week and a half or so beforehand.
Yeah.
Coffee, no. Red wine, absolutely not. Dark chocolate, you can't have any kind of fermented fruits or foods, which is it's just fucking garlic, onions, all, like, you just have to strip shit back. You can't even have sex or make out, because that sexual energy is meant to be, because it's the sexual energy is meant to be really healing, which makes sense. Like, sometimes.
Do you fully buy into all this, or are you, like, buying into it, like, metaphorically?
The food thing, chemically, I do.
Yeah. But, like, you know, when you say, like, oh, those two plants don't get on.
Oh no, it's true, because ayahuasca strips everything back and forces you to see. And confront your shit, whereas marijuana clouds that, totally clouds it. It actually, that scientifically, that's also scientific, though. Yeah, right. The marijuana leaf and the ayahuasca plant, they're just not
compatible.
Yeah, and it dulls your experience severely.
Well, it does with all experience.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, totally. But
hence its draw.
Yeah. But that was really confronting. Cutting all of that shit out, I went into such a low. I didn't realize how much I fucking love coffee and how much I love weed and sex and food, and that was really confronting for me, making that kind of commitment. And then even coming out after it, I was a sponge. Like, I was so sensitive. So much of my anxiety suddenly came to surface. Like, I was really, it was interesting. But it was good, because I think it was just a great introduction to the plant, and they say the plant gives you what you need in that moment, and I don't think mentally I would have been able to have handled anything more at that time. So I think it was, as much as I probably wanted more, that was probably the best, because now I know it can take me to a really good place if I do hit a bad spot.
Oh, man. I'm not going to lie. I know, Benny, you're into this. My idea of hell.
No,
It's totally my idea of hell.
I'm not into
I have
the
zero interest in it.
Scary.
Like
It's scary, man.
I've never done ayahuasca. And I've had a few people kind of try and push me in that direction. At this stage in my life, I have no desire to strip my soul back and I feel like I did a lot of that and I feel like I came out the other end and thank God I somehow held on to my sanity. But man, in my mid-20s it was touch and go. There was one particular experience that I had where I was basically crazy for 2 years after it. Like I thought I was psychic. I thought I could see through I
DMT
did, DMT,
yeah, and that's what a lot of people compare ayahuasca to. They call it the businessman's ayahuasca.
Because
but it is
quick
so
and
different.
short.
It's
I mean, I had an experience where I truly believed that I was dead. Like,
I
no
mean,
doubt.
that's it.
You see, none of this is appealing.
No, but
to
it was revelatory and it was amazing. And I'm so glad I had that experience. But I'm not lining up to do it again because I felt for me. So what happened to me was like I inhaled this thing, I leaned back, and I was gone.
Yeah,
and then it was just me floating in infinity, and then these bizarre beings made of like language and time just unfolded, and they very calmly said, "You're dead. You just died on your living room carpet. You're gone, and we're just here to explain, what happens next."
God, that
and in that,
and
it wasn't a vision or a hallucination. It was like, oh, I am dead. This is definitely happening.
Fucking it. That's
and then they explained what all reality means, and I can't put it into words, but it was literally the equivalent of like, bloop, like that. And I remember just laughing, going like, we're all fighting wars over that. It's the answer's so simple. And then as that happened, my body kind of like unfolded in all directions, and at the start of the line was the first cell that ever came up 3.5 billion years ago, and then ran through every life form, dinosaurs, trees, me in the middle, and then everything that I'll ever be, all my atoms will ever be. And then I super collapsed into myself and my body disintegrated, and then I was just consciousness.
It was a great film.
Dude, I was just,
See,
it was
this
just,
is like,
it was just my mind.
fuck.
At that point I was like, then you're definitely dead. You're definitely, and then I felt my consciousness start to bleed out and me gone. And then and this was with Nick. And then the next thing that happened was I shot up and I was like, and the fact that I was back in my room in this world was the most horrifying thing ever. And it felt like I'm trapped in a reality that is so much lesser than that, and I don't want to be. And then I got scared that what if I have died? And what is this?
Yeah.
And then what if when I die, I've robbed myself of that experience and that I won't actually die properly when I die for real? And it was like, it sent me crazy for 2 years. It was
see, that's my idea of hell.
See, that's,
I feel like I overthink everything enough, and I feel like I have the ability to quieten my mind now. Like I'm 34 now, and I feel like I have tools that I've figured out which chill me out a lot and make me feel stripped back in a weird way. It's not comparable to having ayahuasca or DMT at all. But the idea of that just, to me, is so unappealing.
Yeah.
I can't even, and the idea of purging, even like the physical vomiting and stuff, I just feel like, I mean, I know people who are into it are so into it, and I appreciate that, and I know people who've changed. Their whole personality has changed for the better since trying ayahuasca. But, just
Jen, have you ever had that feeling of it's so lame, all these words make you sound like such a fucking hippy dippy new wave fucking asshole. But have you ever had that feeling, like beyond just academically saying it, have you ever had that feeling where it's like, oh shit, we're all fucking one and we're all connected and it's all happening and I'm you and you're me and
But you know the thing is though, for me, when I've had that, because my drug of choice is like wine, alcohol, and when I've had those thoughts, I am sober and I am allowing myself to think about things in a deeper way, or I'm just in a really peaceful state where, I mean, I've caught myself like just thinking and being alone at home or reading a book and then just being with my thoughts, because I'm someone who's like that a lot. I spend a lot of time just with my thoughts, like writing or whatever, where I've reaced that point on my own and I've laughed, where I'm like, this is hilarious how we are all just, the humor of life and what it is and how serious we are and how insignificant we are. Like I don't think about these things all the time or even often.
Yeah.
But I do have quite a lot of moments where it happens. And sometimes it's unexpected. It's not when I'm just like sitting at home alone like a weirdo, like, oh, the universe. Sometimes it's like I've been on a road trip with my partner and he's driving and I'm dozing off and I look out the window and there's mountains and greenery everywhere and I'm like, this is so fantastic. We are so insignificant and part of this, and I love it. And you know, we'll
David
disappear.
Attenborough documentary for me does it every time.
But it's like,
especially deep sea.
Oh,
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, so that type of stuff like has. I mean, I can't say has a similar effect because I don't know, and I will probably never know how. Your situation felt, Rosie, or when yours have been. But for me, it's like I feel like I have those moments and I love them and I love coming back to them. But for me, there's some joy in having them when I feel like I have a clean mind, which I know people say they achieve through ayahuasca. They cleanse their body and they purge everything, and so they come out with a cleaner mind. But for me, I don't know. I don't like the idea of anything interfering.
I think especially when you have anxiety, like I get really severe anxiety.
Oh yeah, I get anxiety all the time.
So the idea of not like it feels like a fucking luxury to have control. So I can totally understand putting yourself in a situation where you have absolutely no, because that's actually where my anxiety stems from. It's from
not being able to control,
thinking that I could have done something and fixating on it. No. Something's happened and thinking I regret, like I've had the worst anxiety, and that was actually a big reason why I wanted to do ayahuasca, because it's meant to help with that. It's meant to kind of help bring shit into perspective and break those old habits and those negative patterns. But putting yourself in a position where you're just like, I am surrendering all control to another force, or I don't know, I don't even know what to call this situation right now. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
See, I love that terror.
Definitely not my style.
And that's what I wanted.
Like
I wanted that shift. I wanted to take a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Not my style. I'm way more inclined to like catch my thought patterns and like this is the smallest thing, but me acknowledging to people I don't know how to do something or I don't know what something means, I feel like an idiot most of the time going through life. Yeah. So for me, when I'm like with friends and I feel safe and I'll be like, oh, I don't know what you mean by that, is like a newer thing for me to verbalize, and I'll catch myself in that moment where I feel like there's a shift because I'm trying something.
What, were you too proud in the past to say that?
No, too shy, where I'd be like, if I say it, they'll know I'm an idiot.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm like, oh, if I say, oh, I don't understand, they're not going to go, oh, you're fucking stupid, blah, blah. They're going to go, oh, well, it means this.
And they'll feel great because they'll feel smart.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everyone loves that.
Exactly. But that was like an anxiety of mine too, like carrying this weird thing where I was like, oh, people are going to find out I'm dumb, and it's going to be really bad.
I get all the time. I get
I have.
Even
me
right
too.
Now,
But now I feel like that's it's horrible.
I'm dating a dude and I'm like, when is the time going to come when I ask him, do you think I'm stupid? And not in a, do you think I'm stupid? Just legitimately, like, I hope you don't think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
But you know that means you're smart. It's always the people that think that they're smart. The people that never question their intelligence, the dumbest shits on earth.
I know. I had a girlfriend, a good friend of mine, Madeline, who Ben also knows. And when we were younger, Culp. And I was dating someone, and I was dating Eric. I was dating a friend of ours. And at the beginning of our relationship, she's like, are you okay? I'm like,
around the names.
I know. I was like, why am I fucking bothering? Who gives a shit? They all know who they are, and no one else cares. But when we started dating, I was like, oh, I'm just worried, he's going to think I'm a moron. And she didn't know Eric at the time, but she was like, it's okay. You're at the very least his equal. And I was like, he's not an idiot. But she just heard like him say the goofiest shit. And he's actually very bright. But when we started dating, I was like, oh, like that was always my thing. But anyway, I use that as an example where it stemmed from a place of insecurity where now when I feel as if I'm in the moment, I will catch myself and I'll be more blunt and more open and more honest and not be so scared, because you were referring to like changing your thought processes or changing your habits.
Everyone has
that's
their
something
own
for me.
Totally. I think everyone has their own little challenges in which they try to overcome that, and mine just so happened to be a really heavy psychedelic.
No, but I totally relate to that as well, because I think for me, like about that thing we're saying about leaning into the, like I always liked leaning into the terror, and because whenever I've done it in the past, I get very death fixated and very
Yeah.
like, you know, like I'm gonna die one day, and I think doing a lot of that stuff definitely got me. I mean, in conjunction with other things, but really got me over that fear of death.
Yeah.
Because I have experienced full blown ego death.
Yeah,
where I was
that
gone,
sounds like it.
just gone.
Yeah, that sounds
I
like
ceased to exist.
But wasn't it like really comforting? Like when I've had
it was
those
the
moments,
most comforting thing in the world.
Yeah, when
you're
I've
at
had those
peace.
moments where
Just
it's
gone.
like,
No more chattering.
Yeah, fuck.
I feel like. No, go. What were you going to say,
no, I
Rosie?
was just that's how it felt for the 10 seconds that I was an octopus.
yeah, exactly.
Like, it was so brief. It was so fucking brief. It just came in at the end of like music really dictated where I traveled to.
Yeah.
And
Nikki's a great
This
musician.
is so weird. I once had a vision that I was a krill. You know,
really?
krill?
Really?
You know, krill?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
basically, like, the corn of the ocean. Like, just, you know, and I had this moment
Corn
where I
with
was
legs.
like a krill, and I was in a swarm of a billion other krill, and I looked down, and just as a fucking baleen whale was opening its mouth to get us all, and it was the most, and this wasn't like, I'm
accept.
Ben lying in my living room imagining that I'm a krill. No, I was a fucking krill. I was, my girlfriend at the time, when I came out of it, I looked at her and went, I was a krill. And she like burst out laughing, but it was just like, yeah, I was a fucking krill.
I know, isn't it funny?
And I'm so grateful for those experiences. Like, they sound insane, but
No, they're
It's so
comforting.
peaceful because all I was just, I just remember I was just sitting on the deep ocean bed and I was this blue, and actually funny story to follow this, but I was just this blue octopus. I do recognize this female, and I just felt literally one leg just go, and I just felt like it go up and then just smack
Drop
down against the sand, and all I was just conscious of just being a body with no thought process, just at peace being that. And then Nick told me that later on, when he slept in that bed, he had a dream this octopus was trying to seduce him, and he was just like, no, lady octopus, it's not my style. I was like, oh man, you're sexualizing my like archetype or whatever beautiful thing that was. Like, she didn't have fucking eyes and juicy lips or anything. Like,
Nikki,
I was just this thing. I know, it was so funny. It was yeah.
Nikki's squid tentacle porn fetish comes to the surface.
Oh my god, I know.
It's like interesting you should say that.
I know. Oh man.
Have you experimented with psychedelics and all other stuff throughout your adult life?
Yeah, I mean, not as often as I would have liked to. Like, I've done acid, I've done mushrooms. I haven't done DMT before.
Not to be trifled with, may I just say.
Yes. Duly noted. I'm definitely due for a new
period.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. Look, it was in conjunction with a lot of us.
Yeah.
It was the tail end of about 3 years of heavy abuse and use. And we'd really gone from the realm of, we're doing this to be spiritual, to just being degenerate fucking
of course.
abusers. And that is always the fine line with these things, I think you got to be careful with the plant medicine stuff.
Exactly.
It can very easily become...
I think intention is really important, and preparation, and this idea of like respecting the experience and yourself and looking after yourself. But I would like to to use psychedelics more. I think the only like recreational drug I really take is I just smoke weed. I just did that ever since I broke my leg. It just helped me so much, and then that's probably been the only constant. But no, ayahuasca was definitely big one. But yeah, I really want to do it again. I think it's an experience. Definitely it takes time, and it's cool to have finally done that and taken that step. But
I think if you're a person who's not prone to like schizophrenia or mental illness,
that's it. When you know that you can,
yeah,
you may
it's an experience. Why not? And unless you're like you're Jen, where it's like you categorically have decided you don't want that. I think if there's
I haven't decided. I'm pretty open. It's just that I feel like, to be honest, I've had like a really weird, I had like a really bizarro natural high experience where I don't even remember what happened, but I remember the feeling, and it was like amazing, and it was wonderful, and it was like I wasn't scared of death or dying or like losing people. Like, it was very much this really hippy dippy moment of like, we're all in it together, and we're all just bits of the earth, and we're all going to disappear, and how wonderful, and other people will come, and that's sort of like really at ease with the universe and anything that happens. Like, you could have been like, everyone's dead, and I'd be like, well, that's what's going to happen. Like, it was like this really natural high that I sort of in some weird way am looking for again. And maybe that's what makes me not interested, because I'm like, I want to try and find that.
That'll make you okay with anything.
Let's not go there.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, maybe someone just spiked me and I had no idea.
Should I pull a paper out of
Get a word.
So Rosie, you get to pick a word, and then whatever comes to you.
All right.
Drum roll. Here we go.
Whatever comes to me.
The hat Rosie gets.
What is the word?
Regret.
Gonna go for another one?
I mean, regret. No, we can talk about
It doesn't have to be heavy. It can be like stupid regret, or it can be.
Oh, I have
it can
to
be
talk
whatever you
about-
want,
I have
really.
to- okay. Oh, interesting. Do you know, it just makes me want to think I have a drug story.
No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
do
That's
it.
fine.
Okay.
It's an
It's
organic
fine.
Regret.
continuation.
It was just, I went to this beautiful, on New Year's, and this is when I was with Sam, we went to this property near Wiseman's Ferry, and we all, it was just over New Year's. It was really beautiful. It was just about like 150 people max. It's really cool. The guys from Hermitude ended up playing because they were just friends with the organizer.
Yeah, cool.
Of this little mini festival. And we all took a bit of acid, and I think I took a bit of. Is this so naughty that we're talking about?
No, it's your like personal
I love this. Oh,
stories.
God.
Is this naughty?
Says the striptease artist. Says the lady who takes money, cloves off the money, takes money.
No, you can talk about whatever you want.
It's just such a silly story. We just took a bunch of acid, and I think I took MDMA as well. And I really, but in that moment, wanted a peanut butter sandwich, and everyone freaked out because one of the guys in our group, Gobi, was like deathly allergic. Like if you so much as opened a jar of peanut butter,
Oh,
and
yeah.
smelled it.
Yeah.
Fuck. So everyone freaked out. I was like, oh my God, no, I won't have the peanut butter sandwich. It's fine, I won't. But I was like, but I just want some texture in my mouth. So I just went to the tent.
You killed this guy, right? This is the
He's
regret.
dead now. It's just a real funny story of this guy's death, but I got a sandwich. So who gives a fuck?
Yeah. I don't regret it at all. It was delicious. I just went back to the tent and I was just exploring my options. I remember it was one of those things when we went to the supermarket that you realize you're your own adult and you can buy whatever the fuck you want.
Isn't that the greatest?
So my
It's such a
go-tos,
good
we should all
feeling.
talk about what our 3 go-tos would be
Okay.
Mine,
Please. Yeah.
let's go 3. Mine was white bread, plastic cheese, and Devon.
You're
And if I could have, I would have put some tomato fucking sauce on there
a little
too.
smiley face on the
And
Devon.
some
You
butter.
fucking sick bitch. That's so gross.
Didn't get Devon, got ham. But still, fuck. I know it's so
Devon.
fucked. It's
I've got a
messed
real
up.
issue with Devon from
I
my childhood.
understand.
I
It's
never ate it, but
fucked.
it's like that kind of plastic. Like it's like that when they like chicken in a circle, isn't it?
It was the
it's
thing
like
I wasn't
similar.
allowed to
It's
have
like
as
a
child.
seafood
So
stick.
Of course, I wanted it.
I used to get it on
Is
white.
it seafood?
No, it's like seafood stick. It's just whatever.
Oh, right,
It's just
right.
whatever
It's just
compressed
whatever.
into
It's
a fucking
whatever.
log.
Right.
But when I was
you
a kid,
don't
it used to be
have-
served to me on white bread, and they used to paint a smiley face on with tomato sauce. And even as a child, it was like that is just.
It's upsetting.
I don't need my processed meat smiling at me.
Okay.
It was a happy place. Yep. So those are the things. That,
What would you
I
get,
bought
Ben?
those.
3 things.
Oh wait, are you done with your?
No,
No,
but
the
I
stories
want
to keep. But we're having a quick intermission about the 3 things.
I would get
your
Ben
rebel
and,
foods.
Ben and Jerry's Chubby Hobby.
Oh yeah.
My new favorite thing. This is so fucked. But last night I had the. Have you had the Cadbury's chocolate with CC's chips in it?
No, but that's so
I've seen
you.
it. I've
Unbelievable.
seen this. Is it good?
It's unbelievable. It's so fucking
I'm gonna have to
good.
buy
Makes
some
sense.
immediately after this.
Salt and sweet.
So good.
Heavenly
Is
mix.
this Food Works? Can you buy it there?
You can get them everywhere. Like they've released one with kettle chips in it as well.
Oh.
And it's like as if that's not fucking
Oh my God,
like decided by
that's right.
stoners.
Oh, yeah.
It's like get a bunch of stoners in a room. Like what's your dream? Chips and chocolate.
Oh.
Yum.
So yeah, the Cadbury with that, and maybe if I'm gonna, I'm all sweets. So
Yep.
probably like chocolate covered pretzels.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, you do love those.
I love those.
I would go Crowns, those chocolate biscuits you can get that have caramel in them.
Very good.
Yeah. And then I would go, do I have to just do 3?
No, you can
I
just
want.
manage
You
one.
can go 5. You
I
can
would get
stretch to 5.
crackers
Go rogue.
with salami and blueberries, and then I'd get a big bottle of red wine.
Very good.
I'd be very happy.
Very adult.
Yeah,
I went,
no,
I went
yeah,
nasty.
yours is like
the daughter of a
80s kid.
naturopath. I was like, fucking up, this is it. I'm 2 hours out of town. No one can stop
You are
me.
such an adult. I don't do drugs, and I eat olives and blueberries.
I grew up with that.
And the rest of us, like, I'm fucking get ice cream
Devon
and
and
ketamine.
ketamine.
I said those Crowns nice as well. I love those chocolates that have caramel in them. They're so good.
Oh, yeah,
and a bottle of wine. Just because I look elegant doing it doesn't mean it's not an addiction.
That's true. That's true.
Reel
It's
it back in.
Just
most socially acceptable addiction of them all.
Just because it looks fabulous doesn't mean it is.
Speaking of blueberries.
Yeah.
Strategic.
Very nice, yeah.
I did get blueberries too. And blueberries play a very important part in the tale. So I went to the tent and I was just like, obviously I had my like Devon white bread cheese situation, but I couldn't open the plastic cheese. I couldn't open it.
Too munted.
It's just like no. But also like this just isn't meant to be. If I have to spend more than 5 minutes trying to do this, it's not meant to be. And then I saw a punnet of blueberries and I was just like, oh, fun. Yes. And then I went through this thing where I was just like, oh no, maybe I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't eat blueberries. And another voice in my head said, but Rosie, when did anyone ever say I shouldn't have eaten those blueberries? And I was just like, yes, this is true. So I'm probably just sitting here squatting in a tent, like talking to this area of space and then this area of space. And I was like, excellent, this is true. And then I just
Isn't it funny the weight of all decisions when
yeah,
you're in these
I know.
situations?
And I wasn't even hungry, but I just wanted something. I don't know. I wanted
texture.
more texture. But then I say texture, but I literally just opened it and just like my mouth was like an open pipe and just went down. And then I was partying and everything was great. And then I was like, ugh. And I thought, oh, fuck me. Oh, no. And then I had to run to the bushes and I was sick.
Oh, no.
And I did eat a ham and cheese sandwich. I didn't know that I did, but the reason I did is because I don't think I chewed anything. I think Sam came to later inspect because I was donezo for the night. And he was just like, baby, did you even chew? And I was like, oh my God. Like untouched. It's amazing. But that was regret because my New Year's was fucked by a punnet of blueberries.
Oh, man.
I remember just passing out to the sound of nangs just going off in just random corners of the fucking woods.
Is there any more joyful sound than the sound of a balloon inflating with a nang in the middle of the bush?
I had nangs at a party just the other night, and it's pretty, like, when the beat was dropping at one point as the nang was just making everything separate, and I was like, Durr!
My nang days are long gone.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Long gone,
I thought so too until a very attractive woman handed me a nang.
There was one
That's all it takes.
There was one New Year's Eve many years ago. We were at not Wiseman's Fair. What's the other one?
Oh, one of the which festival was it?
A New Year's Eve bush doof type festival.
Pete's Ridge.
Pete's Ridge.
Oh yeah.
Pete's Ridge.
We were doing gigs there. Is that it?
Yeah, we were doing gigs there, and I'd had maybe a couple of things too many, and I had a terrible freak out.
Was this when Nicky put a pillowcase on his head because he was worried people were going to chase him?
Oh, God.
We did comedy and it was bad.
That was the year before. It was so funny. Nick took 2 tabs of acid and then went on stage and just proceeded to. And it was fucking
really
funny.
It's so fun performing on acid.
Funny. But he melted down and then and it was just like, if you know Nick, it was just like non sequitur rambling. And then the next morning, I'm lining up for a coffee and I hear these 2 like art people behind me going, "Oh yes, we were in the stand-up comedy tent last night and there was this amazing performer doing this incredible deconstruction of the art of guys." Like, no, it was just a guy on acid. But the next year when I went, so I had a catastrophic mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at me, they're all judging me, they hate me. And so I spent about an hour in a tent just doing nang after nang to kind of.
Oh God.
Look, they're little atom bombs. They just destroy your brain.
No, it's terrible.
I always envision it's like there's a hole puncher in your brain just going.
Oh God, it is.
Like,
every time you're aware that your brain is like, it's literally it's like someone's put a pillow over your mouth for a minute, and then finally it's like,
See, that sounds like fucking
and your
hell
brain turns to tinfoil.
That
everything goes
scares the shit out of
crunchy.
me.
it's like everything just separates. Oh, dearie me.
So in the end, I had it was like 50 nangs left, and I was just carrying them in a plastic bag, and I was like demented, walking around, and I decided that's it. I'm gonna get all my courage and I'm just going to go into the fucking festival. I'm going to do this. And I had the nangarator in one hand and the fucking bulbs in the other. And as I walked out, there was this young lady obviously peeking very fucking hard in a tent.
Yeah.
And something just like the benevolence
took
over me. And I just like inflated a balloon.
Yeah.
And just went over to her.
Gave it to
and just like handed it to her. No. And she just looks at me. She goes, "Is that what I think it is?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Are you giving that to me?" And the look of joy on her face, and I was like,
it's like
"This
a
is
little
how
weird gift.
This is how I pull myself out of the fucking horror." And so I was just walking around
just
the
giving
festival,
people names.
just walking out, and in the end, I got the name, the Balloon Man, and people were like running out to go, "Hey, Balloon Man, can we have a balloon?" Like, yeah.
Ben.
Oh my
Balloony
God.
Ben.
It was like, it was the most degenerate thing you could do, but it was so, like, it felt so altruistic and lovely on New Year's Eve to do that. And now you go to fucking convenience stores in Newtown and there's like nangerators and bulbs in the window. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're on the counter where Molly's used to be.
Yes. So I'm looking at regret, and I think this is such a bullshit word. I think it's a bullshit word because, like, regret, like, in order to avoid regret, it's like you need to be a fucking fortune teller. Do you know what I mean? Like, it puts it, like, I think if regret didn't exist, then I think this terrible feeling and fixation and anxiety on changing the past wouldn't exist. Like, if regret didn't exist, then something would happen and then you just accept and you just be like, well, fuck. Yeah.
But do you have any, like, do either of you have any, like, deep regrets
I
from your past?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few.
Really weird.
I have a few regrets.
A really, like, weird, simple one. Maybe this is a fucking overshare, but I actually think, fuck it.
This is the place to do it.
I'll just say it because I think everyone's been in this boat. They really, truly have. I'm sure. I don't know.
I'm nervous because I think I probably have.
I tell myself that everyone's in this boat so I don't feel like a complete piece of shit.
I was about 21, just came out of it like my first longish term relationship. With some dude, essentially, like, we broke up because he went to America on exchange, and I was like, let's do an open relationship because it was just like, you're going to want to fuck a whole bunch of people. You always talk about how you just want to, like, fuck at least 100 people before you die. He was a piece of shit, like, terrible, terrible boyfriend now that I look back on it. Like,
everyone's kind of terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's killing it at 19.
But
child.
Yeah. He broke up with me, and after we broke up, I went through this phase where I was just like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I just want to get shit-faced and I just want to fuck someone, you know? Like, I want to go out and I want to have sex and have this fun and do this.
Yeah.
And then, like, I went and did exactly that. Like, I went out with some girlfriends and we got, like, quite drunk, and we met, like, I think they, like, some of my friend started, like, chatting with this dude on another group who was at this bar, and then I started talking with his friend, and then we just ended up getting more drunk, and then we went back to their place, and we got really stoned, we got really drunk. My friend started making out and going off with this other guy, and me and this other dude were like, well, you know, I was like, fucking skate photographer, like, from New York, but with bullshit tattoos, really stupid tattoos, you know, just being like, yeah, so this burger over here.
Like Benji Madden.
Yeah.
Oh, just fucking idiot. Totally. Like, I swear to God, like, he had a tattoo of a burger on his abdomen, and he was just like, it was just fucking delicious. And my mate was like, remember the moment. So I fucking went to the tattoo shop and I just got it. I was like, this is delicious. Can you put it on me so I remember it for the rest of my life? And, like, it was just fucking dumb.
And you fucked this guy.
And I fucked this guy. And the regret is more that
I was like, that's not that bad.
No. It'll get, like,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't. I mean, what happened was, we fucked consensually, all consent. Yeah. But it was one of those things where I was in a shitty place and I was so drunk and high off my tits. And then at one point we stopped, like, we ran out of condoms. And in that moment, I'm like, this is wrong, Rosie. You don't know this dude from a bar of soap.
Yeah.
Do not have unprotected sex with this man. I know. You don't know this dude. Yeah. You don't know him. Yeah. And look at his room. It looks like shit. Like, what does that say about his sexual health? Anyway, I just, in that moment, you
messy
know, it was
room,
a very
penis.
distant voice in my, I know.
Be careful.
Exactly. But it was this distant voice in the back of my head, and I was just like, don't do it. But then drunk, fucked up Rosie was just like, hey, have you, like, ever been tested? I had been tested. I was just like, I've been tested recently. Are you good? And he was just like, yeah, I'm good. And I was just like, okay. Yeah, totally. So went ahead, did it. He didn't in me. Doesn't fucking matter, though. And then the next day I woke up, dread.
Yeah,
probably the old
regret
R word seeping in, and at this time I think it hit me even deeper as well because I had a friend at the time who like literally copped a fucking handful of STDs all at once.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, and I was and all of her anxiety was projected onto me as a friend.
The way you phrased it, someone threw a handful of STDs into her face.
To be honest, I had that image, only it was a vagina, like someone, like a baseball mitt, just like, and like just on her pussy.
Slapping into there.
Yeah, kind of.
Totally, yeah.
So, what was the...
Sorry, but she had a lot of anxiety about it and actually like projected quite a lot of that. I was always the ear for that. Okay, so I was like, the fuck would you put yourself in a position?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Is this too much?
No, I've got to think about disease, especially venereal disease.
I have health anxiety.
Yeah.
I was dying this morning. I was just like, what the fuck did I do? And I remember, I was like, I don't even remember this guy's fucking name. And I even remember asking him again, we didn't use protection. I just need to know again. Like,
you okay?
Just for peace of mind. And he just gave me the fucking thumbs up and just passed out again. And I was like, righto.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to carry on with my life. And I left and, my friend was just happy. She's that token girl who will always be fine no matter what. Do you know what I mean? She manages to do that. I'm like, why are you so okay? And I am like, I feel like shit.
And I feel bad.
And I just, for months, like for 6 months, because of like with like HIV, for instance, like you got to wait. Yeah. I mean, the waiting period is shorter than, but when you have anxiety, you're like, well, I'm going to fucking get to this again in 2 years because of this incident, and I just had, and I think also having entered burlesque as well, where like there's a lot of focus on my sexual identity and my sexuality and whatnot, and this weird ass Christian guilt just set into me, and I was fucking convinced I had something. Like I would get tested.
You were raised Christian?
No, okay. Jewish.
Oh, you're Jewish?
Yes, yeah, totally. So no reason as to why I should feel this way.
Oh, but Jews have a fair share of guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, guilt is massive, but not sexual.
Yeah,
like,
no.
That's, And I mean, my parents never ever like were conservative about that kind of stuff. Like,
right.
But I just had this horror. Like I was at the doctor's every fucking week, paranoid, and I invested all my energy into this beautiful, poor, like one area that didn't deserve it, and I was fine in the end.
Your
I remember
poor vagina.
I know, totally
just, like, looking for something.
Always,
to be wrong.
I was like, fuck, the amount of friends of mine who'd seen my vagina because I was just like, what's wrong with it? And they're like, whoa, Rosie, we're at breakfast. I'm like, I need to know. This lighting is the best kind of lighting for seeing any flaws. Let me get my phone torch. like I was just like, I'm fucked, and it was horrible. Like I couldn't date properly. I just had this horrible anxiety that I was carrying something, and the actual thing itself wouldn't matter. It was the memory it was attached to, and that it came from this bad place. And
not doing something that's without sounding like a wanker, not true to what you wanted.
Thing could have done something. Absolutely could have just said no.
Yeah,
but went ahead and did it. So I had this major distrust with myself as well. And I remember telling my mum about it. In the end, like, results clear, everything fine.
How fab is your relationship with your mother? I would never discuss that.
I was just like, I needed anything from anyone.
But that's a great.
He was right. He was right in the end, though. He was right. That's the fucking thing. I was just like blown away. Holy shit!
What did your mum say?
Well, she was just like, well, maybe you should have trusted him, and I was like,
wow.
Not in that way, but you know what I mean. She was
Holy
like,
shit.
maybe you could have believed, like, in the sense of like,
maybe he's not a dick.
But still, I think that's a good type of regret to have
because I don't have HIV.
Well, no, because you going forward in your life, you don't, because
you won't do it again.
It is a fucking roll of the dice, man. Sex is so like. I never understood why people are so blasé about sex, as though it's nothing. It's like, bro,
they are and they aren't though. Like people are very
really
blasé.
Like someone when I have sex, I can't have a one night stand, man. I can't.
It's gross. But people are blasé about it in one respect, but in another respect, in terms of talking about sex and what it means and what it does and what's involved, it does carry a huge amount of weight. Do you know what I mean?
No,
it's blasé in one way where it's like. Yeah, but I feel like there's sort of two sides of it where people very rarely will have an honest conversation with you about it.
I agree that the conversation about it is not blasé, but the act in itself, like people seem to be very flippant about like, oh, so what? It's just sex. It's like, man, you've like naked with someone you don't know.
Yeah.
You got their cum and their sweat and their spit in your mouth.
You're
like,
a part of
I
one
don't.
Yeah.
I've only ever
Ben
had.
gets down
Well, of
quickly.
course, yeah. If you're gonna do it, like let's fucking do it and let's
do
have
it right.
fun.
But
And
also
like,
make it the safest and most fun thing ever. Like, I'm so fucking thankful I'm with a dude who I can have that open communication with, and he is on top of like getting tested and is so okay with talking about it and being. I'm actually lucky. I've been able to have that dialogue even with shitty partners. Like, you have to be. And but I feel a lot of people aren't. And it's true. The good thing about that is that it shook me, and I'm so lucky I got away with it. But it shook me into, but that feeling, that anxiety still sits within me. Like,
you're definitely not alone in that experience. I know so many, the reason I said people are like blasé in some ways but not others is because I have this weird quality. People love to talk to me about their sex life. I think it's because I don't care. Like, you could say you didn't fucking, if it's consensual, I don't give a shit what you did. You know, you could be like, we dressed like crabs and bite each other. I'd be like, float your boat, man. Like, I don't care. But people always seem to tell me stuff, but more often than not, they've never told their partner. And I take a huge issue with that. And usually I question it because if I'm friends with them, I want them to feel safe. But I'm like, why don't you address that with your partner? And it's like this fear of judgment. So people are blasé in some respects, but in other ways, they're so uptight. Like, I've had girlfriends who've been with guys who do not go down on them, and the women want them to, and they've never addressed it. But then the guy wants them to go down on him. And I'm like, this ain't how this fucking shit goes, man. Like, you got to address this stuff.
But I think it's fear of being left or rejected or something.
I'd be happy to be dumped if I was with someone who was not going downtown. Life's short.
But it depends where you are at your own.
You don't have those orgasms.
Come on now.
Oh yeah.
Well, obviously that goes. But I don't know. Like when I was like, you know, I didn't get my first sexual partner until I was 21. And I remember there were nights where we would be lying in bed and I'd have my arm around her and she'd be, you know, and half an hour later my arm would be in agonizing pain from pins and needles.
Do anything about it, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But that's like, cute because that's like you're new and you like.
But that's what I mean. Like, you know, a lot of the time it might not necessarily be a discomfort having a conversation. It could just be that
sometimes
if I say that, because in my head it was like and it's like the most basic thing.
It's a shift of energy in that moment. You don't want to
have no
with
feeling
it.
in my hand. Can you just get your weight off my arm?
I know.
Oh, is she gonna flip out and leave me?
No, but I've still, even now, like when things are totally comfortable, I have that too. I'm like, I am uncomfortable, but this person is comfortable, and it's recognizing why you're holding back. Yeah,
I don't know why I'm comfortable with sex. I shouldn't be at all. Like, I grew up. I grew up in the most conservative household.
It's a basic human.
No, you don't understand. Severely conservative. Yeah. Like, even now, I think if my dad heard this, he'd try and kill me. Like, so conservative, and my mum doesn't have the tools to discuss it because she grew up in a conservative home. So even if she wanted to, even if I said to her, "Hey, this happened," bless her, she just wouldn't know what to do. Like, she'd be like, "Oh, so long as you're happy," like, just wouldn't know.
But you were probably lucky in the fact that you had like good sexual partners that kind of
possibly
stripped back a lot of that fucking anxiety.
Yeah,
and
possibly
fear.
that. But also, like, I've always felt like I hate how I always try and be very comfortable with like our humanity. Having said that, I have like heaps of fears and crazy shit, and STIs scare me, even though I know logically heaps of people have them and go on in their lives with them, and it's okay, and I hate that judge side of my brain.
And it's the experience attached to it.
Yeah, which is so stupid.
Again, it goes back to that fear of having a conversation, because if you have a certain STI, you do have to tell everyone that you're going to sleep with. If you're going to be an ethical person, this is a thing that I've got, and roll the dice. Maybe that person will be horrified and walk away. So there is, of course, there's stigma attached to it.
But there's stigma attached to so much of it, and people are so comfortable with other things like violence and fucking horrible discussions, or even the conversation of, you know, just fuck around. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. And it's like, no, it does. There's a chemical in your brain that goes off as a female, as a male to some extent as well.
That idea that you can just have sex with someone over an indefinite period of time and not develop
but women have this, I think, unspoken pressure, especially nowadays, where people are like, part of my feminism is that I'm allowed to fucking feel nothing. It's like, yeah, but you also need to tell young people that part of being a woman and having sex is, whether you want it or not, a chemical is going to go off in your brain that makes you want to trust a person.
Absolutely.
So it's like, that's what I mean by like the push of the humanity thing in my brain, where it's the human part's first. You can believe whatever you want, but the human side of your brain is going to want to be attached to someone, or I don't know.
I've come out of a sexual experience going, oh my God, this is so great. Like texting a girlfriend saying like, this is so great. And I don't think I want anything more. Like I managed to have sex and then I'm just like, that's a lie.
But see, why are we aspiring to that?
I know exactly. And that's when I knew this was so wrong. And I'm like
men as well.
But I think like, and we're so freaking like working with adults with disabilities as well. It's made me so aware of how like important sex is. And it should be nurtured and valued and it is like we need to talk about it. Like I know, especially my work as well, like if I have like menstrual cramps and someone asks me what's wrong, I say I have my period and I have an open dialogue about this stuff.
As you should.
Yeah, and the same goes for sex as well. I think there's still so much that's unsaid, and this guilt thing is still does my head in because like I said, I still get this anxiety, like whenever I have a new partner.
Anxiety about what? Disease?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
It's a health anxiety.
Right.
But, you know, that anxiety actually stemmed into, like, I prick my finger at work with a Kimball gun and then see a label saying disease is getting, like, immediately, I was just fixated on...
Tetanus, AIDS.
So it's more of a hypochondria thing in general or
Big
just...
time.
Okay.
And, like,
it's the Jewish thing, you guys.
Dude, I'm exactly the same.
Ben's exactly the same.
I've got like 4 types of cancer at the moment in my head. It's fucking unbelievable.
But it must come from some fucking like you know what I mean? It's blueprints. It's past life regression.
Well, we've talked about that before.
I saw a past life regressionist because I just remembered because of this stuff.
That's amazing.
I was so fixated on having. Why do I carry this fucking guilt? The past life regression was really interesting in the sense that like I was hypnotized and like put in in limbo between consciousness and sleep and whatnot. But I had this like the vision and the story that I had was that I was this woman like growing up. Like I mean, I was a woman. Like I was a fucking housewife in the 50s.
Yeah.
And my husband was a very busy man and he was never around to look after me. I lived in this enormous house. Like the vision is still so clear to me. And at the time I thought I really forced this, but now I'm actually not too sure.
Well, that's so trippy. I would do something like that.
Yeah, this was weird. And I fell in love with like the postman or something. It was this guy who frequently came and we like totally I know the fucking postman, delivery milkman, someone. Fuck. And we made I fell in love with him and because my husband was very violent. If I ever accused him of not being around or expressed anything to him, he was very dismissive and very abrupt and harsh. He was a very, very fucking handsome man, but he was just not, there was nothing there. Yeah. And anyway, I was impregnated by this postman and I'm in hospital and I'm giving birth and I actually died during childbirth. And I think, maybe it's I died.
When did you do this? The past life regression thing? And, this is so amazing to me.
That. Yeah, it was a lady in Double Bay. It cost me $450.
Really?
I don't want to say it's a racket, but... Well.
Oh, I came out of that being like... I mean, it was interesting. She was talking to me about, like, spirit guides, my archetypes and stuff, and she's like, your archetype really wants you to just eat fish. I was like, okay. And berries. Eat lots of berries.
Yeah, well, we know how that goes.
Yeah. I'll have half a kilo of salmon, thank you. Throw in this berry boost bar. I'm on the right track. This is going to change everything. But yeah, no, I went to like, I saw a psychologist as well. Like I would call up a sexual health line to the point that like a woman at one point like recognized my voice. She was like, honey, this is not a body problem anymore. This is a mind problem.
Really?
Like, we
Totally
had a chat
mind
before
problem.
and I was just like...
do you think this all stems from...
Like that experience?
The past life stuff? Because before that, what did you think?
I thought my friend had such severe anxiety about how she...
The girlfriend who got whacked with a bunch of them?
Yeah. And mind you, it was
paintballed with STIs.
Yeah.
That's the image in my head. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's true. It was like a... Like,
poor darling. That's so horrible.
She was so depressed and she kind of became her... Like she just boiled herself down to these things and I had to hear about it morning and night and she became like suicidal about it and I was a sponge for these feelings. So
I hate that though. Yeah. I hate that you hear that someone is suicidal about something that is apparently so common. I feel fortunate that I've sort of...
That's what made it worse.
Exactly. And it's annoying because it's like...
You get cold sores on your mouth and people are like, oh, I can't kiss them, they have a cold sore. But then if it's in a different location, it's suddenly like...
I hate that people feel so alone in it because...
I think
I don't know. I mean,
because a bunch of friends who have specifically like herpes. They've got it, and they're just like, oh, it sucks, man. I mean, it sucks in the sense that like when you have it, it hurts. It hurts
and
more
it's
than
an
anything.
inconvenience.
But any partners never cared.
I have so much guilt about how bad I would feel about it.
Me too.
Like if I had contracted herpes tomorrow, I feel guilt about how bad I would feel about having something that's so minor. Does that make sense?
It is.
Like it's like you hear how common it is and you hear that people are dying all the
For
fucking
life.
time.
That's
And
what
my
fucks
partner
you
and
for
I,
life.
but my partner and I paranoid. We both got checked like 4 times and like to the point where doctors were like, hey, you can fuck now. Like we were both ridiculous, you know? And it's like, what was I so scared of? Like we clearly don't have AIDS. We clearly don't have chlamydia or like it's not you know.
But there is such a stigma to it.
Yeah.
I know, but it's so stupid.
Many years ago, about maybe 10 years ago, I woke up one morning, took a piss, and as I looked down, there was like a purple kind of blotch on the head of my dick. And I was similar to you, Rosie, in the such fear of this. And I was like, that's it, my dick. I've got gangrene of the dick. It's going to fall off. I'm fucked. And I went to the doctor. And then it was not my usual guy. It was like some fucking quack at the Newtown Medical Centre. An older man. I go in there, and he goes, right, take your pants off. And he had a fucking medical student in there. So and at this point, I'm like, whatever. And he fucking like stretches my penis out in front of this guy with tweezers, like grabs the fucking foreskin, pulls it out, and he's like looking at it.
Can I just say, Sean just walked back, our producer just walked back into the room. And Ben is describing
his foreskin being peeled back.
So anyway.
I walked into the most purple thing.
So he stretches it out and he looks down and he looks up at me and he goes, you have herpes. Genital herpes. And I'm like looking at him going, but how? And he goes, from sex. You know, like it's Footloose or something. Like, what the fuck? His solution to that, he then pulls out a dry ice gun and starts coating my penis in dry ice, going, this'll burn it off.
That's not okay.
Listen, it gets so much worse. And I'm like, like fucking agonizing pain. Spray fucking dry ice on my fucking cock. Over the next 2 days, my cock turns completely black because like all the skin on it's necrotized. It's gone completely black.
That's so disgusting.
Eventually, it all flakes off, and the purple spot is still there. And I'm like, going out of my mind. I end up going to my actual doctor who looks at my dick and he just goes, has someone sucked your dick in the last couple of weeks? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's a fucking bruise. It's not herpes, it's a fucking bruise.
Thank God, because
this time, like,
I had a partner who had the same thing. Was it slightly raised? We were like, what the fuck is this? It was like a slightly raised, like purplely, like
sensitive tissue.
A bruise.
Yeah, it's a hickey. It's like a dick hickey.
But this piece of shit quack, fucking, you've got herpes. Like, of course.
I mean,
so how can there not be? How can there not
be
feared?
And been convinced.
Oh my God, 100. And that's the thing. That's the issue with me. It lives. The anxiety lives in me in the form of like
anything.
Yeah, I'm like,
we've talked about this before. It's a formless
so
anxiety that will attach itself to whatever.
It attaches.
Whatever.
I'm feeling really great, and then this little voice will be like, "Hey, you want me to give you something to feel shit about?
Yeah, no, totally.
I got some things.
Totally.
I know the number one thing that's gonna get you, and you're like, fuck off.
Yeah, you can be walking down the street having a fine day and it's like lung cancer's the number one killer of people everywhere.
It is.
Bye, have a good day. Fuck! What the fuck? Who are you? Why are you doing this to me? Unfucking
Why
believable.
would you?
I don't know what mine is.
Oh God, we've covered ground. I feel like these are numbered. Everything is everything I don't want to share with any friends now. I'm like, I'm the new dude I'm seeing. I'm like, listen to this amazing podcast I did about acid, vomit, herpes, which I don't have, but have a fear that it could crop up out of nowhere.
It would be fine.
It would, and this is the thing. Of course it would. Of course it would. But this is what anxiety, this is what irrational fears are.
Yeah.
See, your anxiety is my guilt. I have the guilt where I'm like, I shouldn't feel bad. It's normal when people have. It's okay. You know, like I have the guilt.
See, I've got both. I've got the anxiety and the guilt.
But if there was any... I was just going to say, if there's any other permanent implication of another situation, then I'd be fixated on that. It was just a concept of having a permanent reminder of an experience that I
regretted. Yeah, totally.
That's why I have
physical manifestation of regret.
It manifested totally.
That's what I think the fucking thing is.
And women are also meant to be these fucking pure beings on top of that. You know what I mean? There's that other weird bullshit that kind of comes into it. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it got pushed on me when I was younger. I have a WOG family, so
I
it
only
was
have one sexual regret in my whole career of sex. Well,
I don't want to continue down this path.
No. There's only one time I've ever slept with someone that when it finished, I was like, I really... I mean, like, it's not a regret I carry around with me. But it was interesting because it was the first time in my life I'd ever... I've had so many female friends prior to this, do that, say, oh, I was... hanging out with a guy, and eventually we got back to his house. And I didn't really want to have sex, but we had sex, and I was always just like, I had that kind of like dude mentality of like, well, just tell him you don't want to have sex. Well, what's the problem with that? And it was the first time in my life where it was like a fucking OkCupid date. We met up, and I knew from 30 seconds in, I'm not interested in this person.
Want to have sex, yeah.
Don't want to have sex. Don't want to make out. Perfectly nice person, but I don't want to go there. And, we had a couple of beers and she was from out of town. She didn't, and I was kind of just like, all right, I'll walk you back to your hostel. You don't, and it just started. Well, no, it just started fucking snowballing.
Jesus, man.
And I'm walking up the steps to her hotel room going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But then this thing
I got to give the woman what she wants.
Well, it was this thing of like, but you pass
some fucked social etiquette of sorts.
Yeah, and you pass this certain threshold where it's like, well, to back out now, I'm basically having to say to this person, look, I don't find you attractive. I don't want to do this. Yeah. And so all of a sudden...
versus long term.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I'm having sex with this person and I'm pulling her saliva in the side of my mouth because I don't want to swallow it because I'm so horrified. Yeah. It was just like, it was awful.
That's
it was
not
awful.
okay.
And went to the toilet, I'm spitting in the toilet. I'm like, I felt, it was the first time I'd ever felt disgusting having sex.
Wow.
And
Well, there's not enough conversation with young people, I think, about your body and ownership of it and what it means to have sex
you've got
with
this
someone.
person's fucking...
And what's okay and what it can be.
Totally.
And how wonderful it can be.
And what forms that exists in, because just because they don't say no fucking doesn't mean shit.
But how, what is, like, how do we fucking
talking, I saw this thing about, I mean, look, it's just like a little clip and it doesn't mean anything, but how sex is discussed in certain countries around the world and what sex education is and how there's an emphasis on when you're intimate with someone, it's the giving and receiving of pleasure.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you need to be comfortable. Like using this language of pleasure.
Feedback loop.
Pleasure,
all the sex ed I went through, there was never the word
of enjoying it. Pleasure. No.
That just didn't come up. It was mechanical.
Yeah.
It was
Babies.
almost necessary. Yeah. And it was steps to an ending. There was no conversation of female pleasure or exploration or safe exploration or being comfortable with one particular area of sex but not another. There was no language.
So
there was no
explorative for me.
There was nothing. There was no
find out myself.
If you are naked with a person but all you want to do is this, that's okay. There was no conversation. There was literally, it was like, this is physically what happens to you. Emotions gone. And when it happens, this will be the outcome.
A, B, C, or D, or all of the above.
So numb, so removed from the human experience that it's frightening.
It's the same for guys.
No, I know,
There's this
but
idea of...
it's fucked. Like,
I think it's worse for guys, to be honest.
Yeah, I know,
because there's this idea of like, I've got to be fucking rock fucking hard and fucking plow. Yeah.
That's our education, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm friends with a sex therapist, and we became friends when I was like maybe 33, 34. And it was only at that age through talking with her where she was just like, oh, cocks don't need to be rock hard all the time for them to be effective.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of stuff with a rubbery cock. And like she was like laughing about it, but it was like, oh.
Well, because the playfulness is gone, because when you're learning about it as a young person, as a woman, I feel like a lot of it's attached to the duty of it in a weird way, even though it's not said. what you learn as a child is you have sex to have a baby. So it's associated with the duty. Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas for men, it's like what you said, the intention is you need to be the rock hard superhero porn star man. But it's like any element of fun or laughter or silliness is eliminated.
It's gone.
What about laughing at how ridiculous it is?
Well, like I was saying before, like I laugh manically after an intense orgasm. Manically. It's just this thing that happens. But it's
a wonderful
it's so
release.
true. Like I think I was watching this interesting documentary about Erica Lust, who does like really like pro-feminist porn, but it's just real people having real sex and feeling fucking good about it, and it's mutual, and cinematically it's fucking beautiful. Everything about it is amazing. But there's this one scene of this girl. It's her first time doing a porno, and you know she's a beautiful, delicate European girl, and there's this guy, and he's taking her from behind. And he's fucking her, and you can see in her face, her face contorts, and she's not looking so happy about it. And they notice, and they pull him back, and they come and they talk to her, and they said, "What's going on? What's going on?" And she said, "He's going so hard, like it hurts. It's like I'm really sore. It hurts." And they had to take him aside, and Eric, the woman who creates Erica Lust, is later telling everyone, like, we have to retrain these men, these porn stars, how to have sex because they're taught. Even porn stars.
Yeah, to fucking decimate someone.
Exactly. And there is, and I think it gives men dysmorphia about the size of their dicks.
But it also...
women dysmorphia about their genitalia.
I know. Women have surgery on their pussies.
A guy was telling me recently he was with a girl whose partner made her feel so wrong about
that's
that.
horrible.
And you know two words that I fucking hate that I've heard and don't feel like a compliment? When someone tells me that my pussy is neat and tidy.
When
someone tells me neat and tidy, I'm like,
gross.
That's not a compliment.
Gross.
What
I
does
have to
that
say, though,
mean?
I've been told it's beautiful, and I thought that was really nice.
Oh my God, like beautiful, soft,
like,
silky, lovely,
like,
tight, whatever. Totally. Those
beautiful,
words are
I thought was really lovely.
But it's the same for guys.
It's making me blush. It was really nice.
But it's the same for guys. Like Tom Rhodes used to do this great bit where he's like, you know, I was with a woman and she was like, "Oh, I love your big cock," and he's like, it totally took me out of the moment. I know it's not a big cock. Just say that it's a normal sized cock.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's like, and the humor of it.
I love your normal sized cock.
Well, you just got a nice dick. Like, it doesn't need to be massive.
Average never felt so good.
But
this is comfortable. What a snug fit. All the edges have been reached. Congratulations.
There's so much hang up for guys about it, you know.
And women, though. Like I said, women are having surgery.
Of course.
Like, it's mental.
Of course. But there's this, like, for men, like, back to that thing of, like, you know, it's got to be fucking rock hard. Dude, that fucked me up so, like, about... whatever, I think like 2010 or something, I had complete and total erectile dysfunction for like 2 years. Like, it just would not work because my brain was so locked into it. And you realize, like, as soon as I don't know what it's like to have a vagina, but
I gave myself cystitis from being so fearful of getting something as well.
Really?
Yeah. Cystitis.
What is
like
that?
Inflammation of the bladder or
like
the
honeymoon disease is what they call it. It's like a bladder infection. Yeah. It's very painful.
Yeah, it's like, but it's inflammation. It's inflammation of it.
So
and it can get really bad if it's not treated.
Focused.
Exactly. So if your mind is focused on your vagina,
also
does
if you don't pee
it
after
shut
sex.
it down? Like, does it not? Because, like, if a guy's
I talk about it with my partner because we're so heady as people
Yeah.
that if one of us is remotely in our head, we can tell and then we'll laugh about it.
No. But I'm saying, like, does it have a physiological reaction where it basically shuts down and doesn't work?
A thrush, I'm sure. I've definitely in times of I mean, that's factual. Women are definitely prone to thrush when they have stress. I'm very hyper aware of that area because whenever I feel.
But I feel like your whole body is.
No. But I think that thing what we were talking about earlier with that thing of, like, you know, that idea that men have where it's like, oh, I've got to be the fucking hardcore fucking hard
like, do women feel like I need to be
No. Like, but the consequence of that is if you're not genuinely feeling like fucking I'm a man or horny or whatever, you then try to artificially create that. But there's a cognitive dissonance between your brain and your dick just will not fucking work.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about getting hard, your dick will not get hard. Is it the same for women where if you're thinking about, I need to be sexy and I need to be sensual, you can't get wet?
Well, because that's what I mean, though. If you're in your head.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're fixated on something other than...
It's much harder to orgasm as well.
I mean...
For men, do you think upon, like, repetitive... motions
no,
eventually
the older
can
I
just
get,
happen?
it's not.
No,
the older I get, it doesn't work like that anymore.
Well, I had a person tell me, who's not even a friend, this is what I mean, people just tell me about sex. She said if she because we were out and I just met her and she was like, oh, I'm not drinking. And I was like, why aren't, you don't want to drink? You don't want some wine? She said, no, if I have 2 glasses of wine, I won't be able to come and I want to have sex with my boyfriend later. Oh, my God. And the reason why is because if she, I know, right? It sucks. But the reason why is because if she would drink, she would get distracted and then she'd get in her head. And she'd start thinking about things and then she'd be thinking, oh, I'm thinking and I shouldn't be thinking. I should be with my boyfriend and I shouldn't be there. And then she wouldn't be able to have an orgasm.
It's that thing you were talking about before, with performing, an ego death. I really think for sex to be great, it is a form of ego death. You have
because it's ridiculous.
Well, but also you have to become so symbiotic
silly.
with the other person.
It's so silly. It's wonderful.
So silly. The amount of times I've gone down on a dick and made it a microphone.
I haven't done that, but
I love it. It's so silly. I love sex being silly. How good is it when you're trying to do sexy talk and you already fuck up the second word?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Or you just keep going later on. You're like, oh, fuck that one up. Or you try it again and it just doesn't quite come out right. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you got to make it to me come. Like, you just say something and you're like, sex is so silly and fun. And I think, another thing that makes, when we're talking about sex education, my friend and I really want to set up something at my work. So I work at a creative learning center for adults with disability. And I think it's interesting working around individuals where it's very evident that sex is a basic human need because a lot of these individuals don't have access to sex in the same way and have to have facilitators, but also don't understand consent and time and place and when it is okay to do things and when it's not. And these are adults, and I just thought I cannot imagine what horrible tension would build up in someone who doesn't even have the opportunity to. And we're so lucky that we do get to have sex. You know what I mean? And it's just like, just take some responsibility for that and nurture that, and also just be so grateful for that. That's
the thing. I think a lot of, especially dudes, there's this entitlement to it rather than gratitude for it. And I'm not saying gratitude in the sense of like, oh, thank you so much for fucking me. But just that like, man, this is fucking great. It's like having a day pass to a theme park. Yeah. And all the rides are free and it's wonderful. Yeah. And
strap in and be safe.
And exactly. It's the best.
Totally.
But there's so much ego and hang up and everything, associated with it. And I think it does come down to a lack of communication as well.
Yeah. And
not
also,
just in the act, but in the emotion of it,
And you become very aware of how, like, I guess not your self-esteem, but how like your sense of you become very self-aware in those moments where you start to question yourself. Like, you know what I mean? How terrible that everything that you amount to and are, you feel can be so quickly dismissed by saying, because it's the same in that moment when I was with that dude, I knew I could say no, but I didn't. I didn't, because I think it is that idea of short-term versus long-term. It's just like, in this moment, I just don't want to deal with that.
Is that what it was? Like, did you not say no because you were really turned on and you just wanted to keep going? Or was it just...
as well, you know what? A little bit
because
too.
The animal brains...
We had a lot of sex, totally, and I was kind of like in it, but I was also very high and drunk, and I think it just came down once again to that control thing. Yeah. It's that control thing. I could have done something and I didn't, and then I reprimand myself whenever I find myself in a similar situation of could have, should have, would have, so unhealthy.
I feel like that's why they need to like push.
And that's why regret is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because if regret didn't exist, then you wouldn't fixate on the past. You just accept that happened and you would just move on.
I have no
it's like
regret.
A bullshit. You can't. It's a bullshit
I literally have no regret in my life.
It requires fortune telling.
I hate how negative regret sounds. And I feel like regret isn't an accurate word for all the experiences that fall under it in people's minds.
It's a bullshit word.
Regret is like, it's such a waste of time because it's that thing of like, if I'd done this thing, it's like, dude,
but you didn't.
It's sliding doors. Yeah, you don't know what the fuck. Like,
terrible movie, but so fucking relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can we just say?
Yeah. But I've got a friend who, for a long time was like, if in 1992 I'd just taken that opportunity to move to Israel, my life would be greater. How do you fucking know?
Yeah,
how do you know the day you arrived, you didn't get on a fucking bus and it blew up half a block
100%.
away? You know what I mean? You'd have no fucking comprehension. Yeah. And I think if you're lucky enough, and the place I've got to in my life because I used to regret a lot, especially in comedy and career and stuff, when I had opportunities that I burnt to the ground and melted down and all of these things. And then I got to a stage a couple of years ago, it's like, look, I've got my demons and I've got my things, but for the most part, I actually don't mind living in my head. It's actually okay.
Yeah.
And I can't say that it would be that way had I taken a different path.
Exactly.
Maybe I'd have more material success, but maybe it would be fucking demons in here.
Yeah.
So I can't regret anything.
No.
If we're speaking about it in that way, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, me too. So I don't really, as much as I want to say I have regrets, I don't, because I wouldn't probably be the person I am having not had that experience.
Yeah.
And I think it would have inevitably happened. If it wasn't that time, it would have been another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just what was going to happen. And I think you have to always think about that. Like,
to me,
it's
regret should be
inevitable.
reserved for someone, but for people like fucking, like a fucking Harvey Weinstein or
Yeah.
people that have just
if you're criminally-
That's what I mean. No. Or not even like, or like a Rupert Murdoch, or just someone who has spent their entire life doing nothing but
if you're a
contributing
bit
bile
hungry
and
and I just
shit.
started gnawing on your arm.
Like if you've got a history of fucking people over and doing wrong by people, then you should feel
and knowingly, consciously.
and regret.
Yeah.
I think regret is profoundly necessary, but for
Yeah.
ordinary people, like especially
or
if you're
remorse even.
Remorse.
Yeah.
Remorse, because I think that kind of regret can be applied to any situation, whereas remorse acknowledges, I guess, the detriment.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like in a situation, like I regret things that hurt no one in the end. No one was hurt. I mean, if anything, I was probably hurt, and I was, remorse is probably, I don't even know. I don't know.
Rosie, can we ask you to please give us a word for our hat?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you can say the word.
Magic.
Oh, very good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosie.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you so much for talking to us about regret and all the other bizarre stuff that happened along the
But
way.
I think we all came to the resolution. Like, none of us have any real regret, do we?
No, but also it's just a lovely, refreshing conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
I think it was fabulous.
Pleasure.
Are you performing anywhere soon? Can anyone come and see you? Or
Anyone like to see this STD regret-free individual?
Regret-free.
Living my best life. Shedding those clothes off like bad feelings. Any upcoming shows? I have, there's a really, really wonderful thing coming up called the Burlesque Museum on Friday the 31st and Saturday the 1st of September.
Awesome.
31st of August, 1st of September, where a whole bunch of phenomenal costumes and props and just all of, I guess, the history of burlesque in Australia is just up for display. We have like girls dancing in windows and stuff, and then a Knox Street bar from 10 till 11. We'll have Up Late and Uncut, which will be really wonderful. So that's a cool show that I'm doing.
Awesome. And how can people find you on the internet?
I am at Miss Rosie Rivette on Instagram and Miss Rosie Rivette on the Facebook.
Thank you so much, Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie.
Rosie.